Hi! First of all, welcome back for another Friday video. If you haven't been following me on Instagram, then you need to go ahead and check out my Instagram page at the bottom and follow my 30-day challenge because it's really been helping me feel better in front of the camera. So hopefully that comes off in this video, but it definitely comes off on my Instagram, so go and check that out. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you can get notified every time I put out a new video because I do them every Friday at 12:30. So here we go. Today I want to talk about sacrifice, and I want to do that by telling a story about myself and how I ended up living here in Vegas and what I had to sacrifice to get that. So let's start off with me living in Detroit. Before I actually moved out here, I was in Detroit. After I graduated high school, I went to college. I went to about 4 different colleges actually, and had 5 different majors. And it took me forever to even just like narrow it down and get something done. And we're not even going to talk about the debt that I'm in when they talk about student loans. But I finished. I did it. I got my degree in 2014 in business management. And the whole time I was getting that degree, I was actually working. So I had a good 9-to-5 job. I was working full time because I had to pay for a lot of my schooling myself. And I was doing good. I was moving up in this company. I started off at the entry level, and then I ended up as a manager. And I spent like 4 years in a manager position with this company. But I was miserable. The manager position started off great. I had some longer days, but we had a team in place at the beginning where everybody was kind of doing their part, and we were working together and striving together, so we were getting a lot of stuff done. Even when it was a hectic day, you had really good managers and a really good staff, and everybody is willing to stay over and do what it takes. So we took good care of our clients. But then the layoffs started to happen. Unfortunately, when you're in certain companies and they have people that have been working there for years, they start to make a little too much money for the company to like. A lot of companies are like this. It's easier to bring in new people and pay them less than it is to keep older people for 20 or 30 years, and they keep getting pay raises, especially since I think in certain positions they didn't really have a cap. So the people that I started off working with were making way too much money for the company as a whole. So they found creative ways to get rid of the older people so they can bring in newer people. Newer people who had no idea what they were doing. They stumbled through and expected us to pick up the pieces. Newer people who were getting paid less and didn't want to work as hard. So it became a thing because what started off being a couple days here and there because we had a bigger client that we would have to stay over ended up being every single day. So I got to a point where I was working about 15 to 20 hours a day on a more regular basis. And I was only getting paid for 10 hours a day because I was salary. So every day, every hour that I spent there longer than what I was getting paid, I was doing for free. And my life suffered from it. I gained weight. I couldn't sleep. I ate horribly. And I couldn't go out. So I started buying stuff. Like, instead of being able to go out and have fun with my friends, I was miserable. I was always at work. I was tired. And I would just buy things to make me feel better. TVs, computers, anything you could think of, cameras I didn't need, just crap all day, just buying. And I would sit at home and just stew in that existence for such a long time. Side note, that's why decluttering has become such a big part of my life now, because you have no idea what it feels like from one end to the next. Like sitting in all that stuff versus the freedom I have now is indescribable. But I'll describe it in another video. Anyway, my breaking point came a little bit before I left when our company was under renovation. And because we were under renovation, hours were getting cut. Now, I'm thinking because I'm salary and I'm a manager that my hours shouldn't be getting cut, but I would be wrong. they were cutting all of the manager's hours as well. So we were seeing dips in our salary. So there was an opportunity for me to go to Philadelphia and work in a task force unit, and help out another property, while the property I was usually working at could spread my hours out evenly amongst the people that were there. And the reason why I was selected for it was because I'm the only person who didn't have children, and I could be gone for 3 months. So, and at the time, it was a great opportunity because I'd never worked in another property, and I got to live in Philly for 3 months. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I went to Philly, and I lived in Philly and worked there, and I learned how to do the restaurant there, and I learned how to do all the different departments inside of the hotel. I worked for hotels, and it was fun at first. So much so that I really got in with the staff and thought, hey, if you guys are short a person and that's why I'm here, I'd apply for a job because I'm looking to move. I'm perfectly fine. I love this city and I already know people. And they denied me. I applied for a job a few months before I had actually ended up in Philly, and I took the assessment for that job. And I didn't take it under the best circumstances. I was exhausted. I was out of it, and I failed the assessment. And because I failed the assessment, they wouldn't let me apply for this job because that assessment mattered, I guess, in the long run. It didn't matter that they saw me in action, saw me working, and the scores were different, and I got good comments from guests and stuff like that. No, I failed an assessment, some made-up stuff that they came up with that's supposed to determine whether or not I would be a good employee, not the fact that I was there being a good employee, but whatever. They wouldn't give me the job, but I found this out early on, like within my first month. So then I had 2 more months that I had to spend with this job, and knowing that they weren't going to hire me, and still had to come in with the same enthusiasm that I came in with at the beginning. Not only that, but I couldn't go back to my other property, go back home, because we were still under renovation. So if I went home, not only would my hours be cut again, but everybody else's hours would be cut also. So the pressure was on me to stay, even though I was miserable. And this is where it all broke. Like, I didn't leave my room. I just ate. I was just so unhappy and depressed, and it was just bad. Then by the time my 3 months was up and I got to go back home, I get back home, and literally within the first week, some big disaster happened with the planning team above us, and I'm the one it fell on, and I had to stay, I want to say like 22 or 24 hours at work to fix it. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. When it happened, I went home and I cried so hard and so long. I could not stop crying. It didn't even matter that I had the next couple days off. I was exhausted. I had worked 24 hours. This wasn't the first time I've worked 24 hours. This was like the 4th. And I was just so done. I was like, I can't move on with this company, because when I try to apply for certain jobs, regardless of how good I am, if I can't pass a made-up test, then I don't qualify. And then I come back to where I'm supposed to be appreciated because of all the hard work I do. And they're just like, yeah, but, we need you to work these crazy hours and not have a life and keep doing that for as long as we can keep you. I didn't know what to do. So I cried and I prayed and I cried and I prayed. And then I got an answer. But it was murky at first. I got an answer from God that told me to just let go and trust Him and move forward. And I didn't really know what that meant. And then around the same time, my best friend who lives out here in Vegas was kind of calling me and telling me about a lot of the issues she was going with. And it just kind of happened at the same time. And I'm like, okay, maybe this means something. And it didn't really hit me at first, but then it just kept happening like that, and God just kept telling me, let go and trust me and trust me. So at one point I was just like, you know what, maybe I need to just go. Maybe I need to just let go, because I kept trying to apply for jobs in different states to move on, but I was being roadblocked because They needed me at the property I was working at because they could use me any way they wanted to. They weren't even paying me what I was worth. I was probably the least paid manager out of the whole team, and I didn't even know it. And so of course, they wanted to keep me. They could work me whatever schedule they wanted. They could pay me less and, treat me however they felt. And so they wouldn't let me go. So what happened is I would apply for these other jobs and get interviews and get so far, and then my managers would reach out and speak well about me, and I wouldn't hear from the company or the people again. I'm not saying that they sabotaged me. I don't know for sure. All I know is once I got help from people, everything fell apart. And yeah. So it was just like, let it go. You're not going to get what you want out of it. They're not going to trust you and love you the way that you need to be loved and appreciated at this job. You have to walk away. And I'm not going to lie, I hesitated. Even though I knew the answer, even though I saw it as clear as day, I hesitated. And I would have days where I'm like, yeah, I'm going. I'm about to leave. I'm forget this job, everything. And then other days where it's like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to be guaranteed a job when I get out there? Am I really going to just like leave my job and go live somewhere I don't even know where I'm going? And I don't really know a whole lot of people, leave my whole family and everything? Yeah. I would go back and forth. And I had literally like 2.5 months to really make that hard decision. And it was one specific day that I had worked my butt off. I had planned everything so that we could have a smooth day. And then I was thrown this really big curveball. And it was not my fault. It was because somebody else didn't do planning on their side. And I couldn't go home. I had to stay and figure it out. And then after I stayed all night and worked my butt off yet again and got everything up to code a little bit, I forgot something or I made a mistake. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a call bright and early in the morning. Mind you, I had worked from like 2 p.m. to like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or something like that. And I get a call at like 7. And it's like, oh, you forgot this. And oh, you forgot that. And you really messed us up this morning. And I was just done. That's when I knew God was not playing. He said, we going. So I started selling off my furniture. I put in my 2 weeks notice. I did everything I was supposed to do to get out of there properly. Actually, it was a little bit more than 2 weeks. It was like almost like 3.5 weeks notice. Like I gave them more than enough time. And I was done. And once I let go of that, oh my God, that feeling, that energy, I was released. I felt comfortable. I was excited. I'm like, this is a new chapter. This is going to be amazing. And it didn't even dawn on me what I was actually sacrificing. But here's the thing. I was sacrificing the comfort of having this great job and having this, well, not great job, but having this comfortable job that I knew they weren't going to fire me from because they needed me to keep being their slave in a sense, where I was at least making good enough money to survive off of, and leaving all of that, sacrificing all of that to move to a place that I did not know for a job that I didn't even have yet. I hadn't even gotten a job. I had applied for a couple things, and because my friend lived out here, I used her address to help kind of bridge the gap so they wouldn't think, oh, you're all the way in Detroit. How are you going to be out here in Vegas? So I used her address out here, and I was applying for stuff and hadn't heard anything back, and I was still dead set on leaving. So I left. January 14th, 2015, I moved to Vegas. I had shipped my car, I shipped my furniture, I brought everything about me out here, and I let go. And I got here. Now, what was amazing about that is the day before I was due to fly out, I got a call from another hotel company that was out here that set up an interview for me the following week when I had already been like in Vegas. So I would have got there. I think my arrival date was on a Wednesday. And then my interview was going to be that following Monday. And I'm just like, look at God. Because he told me, just trust me. Don't be afraid to sacrifice this comfort because I got you. And I got something better for you. And so my question to you today is, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to a bigger goal? Because fear is real. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole time I was getting ready for this move, like I said, I was back and forth. I was scared because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what I was signing up for. But the sacrifice that I had to make was bigger than me. It was hard, and that made it scary. But without that sacrifice, I wouldn't be sitting in front of this camera today telling you this story. And there's so much more to this story. Like I said, it's going to go over 4 different parts because we're just talking about how I ended up here in Vegas, but we haven't talked about what happened once I got here, because that fear carried over and I still had much more to sacrifice. So my question again is, what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? Because it's not going to be an easy road. It's going to be scary. And the answer isn't like quick. So what are you going to sacrifice to get to where you want to go? That's all I have for this video today, but come back next week so we can finish this story, because there's a lot to even unpack after I got here. And I still have more sacrificing to do, and I didn't even notice it. I didn't even know that I hadn't given up everything, and I fell back into my old pattern. See you again next Friday. Again, like this video, share it, and then of course subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and come back every Friday. Every Friday I'm posting. Also check out my Instagram, because every day I'm posting. And thanks again for joining me. Bye.